Woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. Uh-oh, we're in trouble. Have you ever noticed that there are terms in the Bible that, when used in the secular world, have the opposite meaning? Let me give you some examples. First, there are sheep. If you were having a discussion with a friend and that friend called you a sheep, you would probably be offended. It typically means you can't think on your own and you just follow along with the crowd. But what if that friend calling you a sheep was Jesus? I hate to burst your bubble, but if you're among his followers, he already did. He said in the book of Matthew that his sheep would take care of others. And when they did so to him as well. We are actually called to be sheep with Jesus as our shepherd. And in that way, we can be leaders among men. Sheep and leader. Yes. What if you were out with your friends and somewhere in the conversation, they ended up calling you a goat? Yes! Greatest of all time! What a compliment, right? But if Jesus called you a goat, well, I'll just quote him and what he said he would say to goats. Depart from me, you cursed, into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels. He wasn't happy that the goats treated people poorly, because when they did that to others, they did that to him. That's right. Jesus talks about the judgment. And when he does, he says that the sheep will be separated from the goats. The sheep will be placed at his right hand, and the goats will be placed on his left. He will say, "Come," to those on his right, the sheep, and he will say, "Depart," to those on his left, the goats. The sheep are good, and the goats are evil. Now, this doesn't mean you should be offended if your friend calls you a goat. Well, unless they mean it in a biblical sense. But I'm just pointing this out because it kind of just scratches the surface of how often we turn the bad into good and the good into bad. This has always been prevalent among the youth. The studious or the religious are seen as weird, and the bullies and the mean girls have all the popularity, and the other teens strive to be like them. However, I'm seeing this among adults more and more. As just a small example, let's take a look at the rating system for video games. The M rating means for mature users, but these games end up with an M rating for things like language, violence, nudity, sexual content, etc. When did this kind of behavior become mature? You might argue that it's not claiming maturity for the game itself, but for the one playing the game. But wouldn't a truly mature person avoid a label that warns against explicit material? It's no wonder our kids are intrigued by rated R movies and M games when we're telling them to view or play such media makes them mature. Or something with adult content means you're an adult if you watch it. The bad becomes good. On the reverse side, you have the meek. As I was thinking about what to talk about this week, I was having a personal battle where I was really tempted to rail against a person who had treated me poorly. How many people would give me advice to stand up for myself, to fight back? It sounds like sound advice. How many people would help me plot against this person, thinking whatever this person gets is deserved? The funny thing is, I already had a line from the Beatitudes written in my notes for this topic. And as soon as I was able to slow my thoughts down, focus my attention on the Lord, and ask for his help, the line popped into my head. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. I'm not saying I should let this treatment continue, but that doesn't mean I need to rail against anyone either. I'll stand down, and if needed, away. Some may find that weak. Many people do find meekness a weakness. The good becomes bad. I could list a variety of areas and all kinds of examples where we make the good bad and the bad good. But this video would end up far too long. It's prevalent in our media, in our politics, in the celebrities we tend to idolize, in general society. You see it everywhere, and we often use it to justify our own sin. I mean, after all, everybody else is doing it. It can't be that big a deal, right? But as Venerable Fulton Sheen said, wrong is wrong, even if everybody is wrong. Right is right, even if nobody is right. And it is definitely right to subscribe to my channel. Hey, you can join me on Facebook and X too. Keep the good, good, and the bad, bad, because God needs more saints in his army.